there was just a dead woodlice right on the floor as I sat down, which is quite on theme for this video. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on this channel. Today I am going to be doing a book recommendations video, and we are particularly going to be talking about murder mysteries. I feel like autumn is the perfect time for a mystery novel, and I love a murder mystery. It's weird because I don't like horror and I don't like things that are really scary, but when it comes to a murder mystery novel, I love it. So as we are entering that time of year where mystery novels feel like the perfect kind of escapism, I thought that I would make this recommendations video and recommend some murder mystery books, and I'm gonna recommend them in kind of an order from cozy to creepy. And do bear in mind that I don't read horror, I don't like things that will give me nightmares, and so when I say creepy, it's not full-on scary, will give you nightmares kind of creepy. There's quite a stack of books here, and this isn't even all of the books I'm going to be talking about, because some of the books I'm going to recommend are books I read as ebooks, so there is quite a big stack. I'm going to try and get through them very quickly, just briefly explain the synopsis of each book and who I think would enjoy this book, and hopefully you will find something that you would like to pick up. So go and grab yourself a cup of tea, get comfy, and let's dive straight in. And we're going to start on the cozy end of the spectrum with some cozy murder mysteries. And I realise that cozy murder mystery sounds like a complete contradiction in terms, but it is a thing. And really it's a murder mystery where it's not really about the circumstances of the murder itself, it's more about the setting or the world or the characters themselves as they unravel the mystery. It's usually set in a small town, usually set with a close-knit community of people, and there's usually something about the murder that brings people together, and that's kind of the premise of the story. So this is perfect if you're someone that doesn't really like murder mysteries, because it's not focused on that element of it, but at the same time you have got that part of the story to enjoy too. So we're going to start off with the coziest of cozy mysteries, and these are the Shady Hollow books. So you have Shady Hollow, which is the first book, Cold Clay, and Mirror Lake. I believe there's also a short story or a few short stories, and I think there might even be a fourth novel that's out now, or coming out soon. In these books we follow a cast of characters who are all animals, although they kind of speak and talk and act like human beings, and it's very kind of Wind in the Willows meets Agatha Christie, like Miss Marple, that kind of setup. And we follow a main character who is a fox, and she is a newspaper reporter. She ends up encountering a murder and becoming a little bit entangled in it and trying to work out what's going on. And all of the books follow different murders that happen in this very cozy little town of animal residents called Shady Hollow. At the beginning of the book you get a map of the town, and as you can see there are orchards, there's a town hall, there's a bookshop, a coffee shop, and you visit all these different cozy settings throughout the book. They're not the most thrilling murder. I feel like you can kind of guess as things are going what might be going on, but with cozy murder mysteries that's kind of not the point of the book. And so if you just want something cozy that will absolutely get you into the autumn mood, I think all of these books are set in autumn, then I would definitely recommend these ones. Next up on the cozy end of the spectrum we have Daisies for Innocence by Bailey Cottrell, and I feel like this, in the kind of mass market tiny little paperback, these are what I think of when I think of cozy murder mysteries. They're short, they're sweet, they do what they need to do and don't do more than that. These ones I feel like have more of a kind of story going on. This one I feel like it is very much just for the coziness. So in this book we follow Ellie, who has a perfume store, and basically her employee ends up murdered, and her employee was dating her ex-husband, so Ellie becomes a suspect in the murder. And we're just following her day-to-day life, working in a perfume shop, falling in love with the local new resident of this small town, and also, you know, trying to solve a murder. This is one of those books where you have to suspend your belief system, not think too critically about why this random woman has entered a crime scene and nobody in the whole town has noticed. You just have to enjoy it for what it is, and if you enjoy flower gardens and afternoon teas and a cozy like Hallmark style romance, then I'm sure you will enjoy this kind of cozy murder mystery. The next cozier murder mystery that I want to mention is The Murder of Mr Wickham by Claudia Gray, and this is the first book in a series of Jane Austen inspired murder mysteries. So in this book we follow the son of Mr Darcy and Lizzie Bennet and the daughter of the Tilneys, I think. All of the main protagonists from all of Jane Austen's books end up at this big house party together, and Mr Wickham gate crashes the party. We find out that not only do the protagonists of Pride and Prejudice have an issue with Mr Wickham, so do many of the other Jane Austen characters. And the next morning, Mr Wickham has been murdered, and these two main characters are trying to find out who's done the murder, because all these characters are stuck in this house. They can't leave until the police have worked out what's gone on. If you love Jane Austen, I would definitely recommend this. I feel like Claudia Gray has done a very good job of capturing the essence of the characters. I mean, I haven't read every Jane Austen novel, so I can't comment on every single one, but from the Jane Austen novels that I've read, I feel like the characters feel believable. It's just a fun book if you love these characters and you want to find out what might happen to them in the future. Next up we have a very popular and well-known cozy murder mystery, which is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I wasn't actually going to read this book. I wasn't particularly interested in reading it, but Johnny's mom left it at our house probably like 2 years ago. I still have given it back, I keep forgetting. But she left it at our house, and one day I just picked it up when I didn't really know what else I was in the mood to read, and I ended up enjoying it so much. This book takes place in an old people's home, and we follow 4 different residents of this home. They have a little Thursday murder club, so they meet up on a Thursday and try to solve murders. And this story follows them as they end up getting involved in a real murder. This is one where I would say it's a cozy murder mystery, but the actual murder mystery plot is interesting and gripping in itself. So it's kind of verging, it's still on the cozy end, but we're verging away from the it's just purely cozy end of the spectrum now. The next book is The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell, and this is the Great British Bake Off meets murder mystery, and we follow a baking competition and the various characters who enter the baking competition. It is basically Bake Off, except they live together during the competition. So they all live in the Mary Berry character's manor. She has this big old house and she always hosts the contestants each year. And this is a very old, creepy, creaky manor that is very dilapidated and on the verge of disrepair. There are some strange noises at night time in the corridors, and the characters who are staying here are kind of suspecting that there might be something going on. This all comes to a head when one of the judges of the competition is murdered. And now they're not only competing to win this baking competition, but also trying to solve a murder in the midst of it. I really enjoyed this one. I felt like the murder mystery storyline was very good. I don't think I guessed the ending either, which was good. You're following all these different characters in very short little chapters, so it moves very quickly. I feel like it's one of those books you could sit down and read in 1 or 2 sittings. Also, Bake Off is on at the moment, so now might be the perfect time to read this book. Another murder mystery that I really enjoyed was The Maid by Nita Prose. And this follows a main character called Molly. She is a maid at a hotel and her job is just to go cleaning the different hotel rooms. Molly is on the spectrum, and so quite a bit of the book follows how she perceives things, how she interprets the world. Whilst cleaning one of her regular rooms, she discovers that one of their regular guests at the hotel has been murdered, and she kind of takes it upon herself to find out what's going on and solve the murder. I also feel like hotel settings are really good for a murder mystery because I think there's an element of creepiness to being away from your home and not in your comfort space, and all the kind of corridors and doors and rooms and hidden places. I feel like it's a great setting for a murder mystery, so definitely recommend that one. So next up, I want to talk about some Agatha Christie books, and I'm going to mention 2 Agatha Christie books at this point in the video, and then a couple as we get later into the video. I feel like I could mention some of her books at every stage. I haven't read any of her Miss Marple books, but I feel like they could be much earlier on the cozy end of the spectrum here. But I'm going to recommend a couple that I think are kind of a good bridge between the cozy and the creepy. And those 2 books I'm going to recommend are The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which is one of her Poirot books, and Crooked House. Crooked House is a standalone book. I've mentioned this one quite a few times before, but I would say this is like Knives Out, in that we follow a very rich family in an old house and there's been a murder. And then The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is one of the Poirot books, but it's set in a village, like a little small village, and we're following Poirot as he's, at this point in the series, he's trying to kind of settle down and put aside his detective role, and he's got a house and he's gardening and trying to kind of embrace a bit more of a calm lifestyle. So that's why I would recommend this at this point. The plot twist in this one is very good, and the setting of this one was really good. So I'd recommend both of these as like, they're cozy, but they are also very much murder mysteries at the heart of them. The cozy elements are just like scattered in. So this next one, I'm not even sure why I've included this in the list, because it's not a murder mystery, but there's a death of a character, and a big part of the story is working out what happened around that death. So this is not a murder mystery, but I thought I'd include it anyway because it follows that same premise. And I think this one brings us to, we're definitely out of cozy now. And that book is My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. If you are someone who likes reading more classics or literary fiction, and you don't just want like a cheesy murder mystery, that you want something that's going to make you think a bit more deeply, then I would definitely recommend My Cousin Rachel. As I said, it's not a murder mystery. Like, it's not a character's been murdered and we must find out the murderer. It's more that a character has died and the circumstances around that death are being questioned by our main character. And I feel like this is a great place to start with her books if you enjoy a murder mystery, if you enjoy a mystery novel. We are well and truly into thrillers now, and the next book I want to recommend is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This is the only book by Lucy Foley that I've read. I know she's written 2 or 3 other books that are really popular, but this is the only one I've read, and this one is set in an apartment in Paris, obviously. We follow a young woman who is going to Paris to visit her brother. Her brother has moved there, moved into this apartment complex, and she's just having a rough time in life and needs to escape normality. And so she decides to go and visit her brother at his apartment in Paris. When she arrives, her brother is not around and she can't get hold of him, she can't contact him, he's not answering his phone, and it's all very strange. But she gets let into his apartment to stay there anyway by the other residents of the apartment complex, and as a result she starts to meet the other residents and notices that they are all very, very different from her brother. And the longer that he is not answering his calls and not returning to the apartment, the more suspicious our main character becomes that something has happened to him. This is another one that's very fast paced. There's lots of perspectives and characters in very short chapters that moves very quickly. It's another one that you can read in 1 or 2 sittings. And just like with the hotel setting, I feel like an apartment is kind of similar. Actually, again, I'm not sure if this would be advertised as a murder mystery, because it's not like this character has been murdered and we're discovering the murder. It's more of a thriller, but there's obviously that suspicion around a missing character. So kind of in the same vein as Gone Girl, that kind of thing. Back to Agatha Christie, I have to recommend And Then There Were None. And this is a really interesting murder mystery because we follow a cast of characters who are all invited to this island by a common person that they all know. When they arrive, this person is not there, and by the end of the first night, one of the guests has been killed. And as we go on each day, another guest is getting killed each day. And so they are trying to work out who is murdering people, who is killing them off, and they've got to work it out before they are the one that gets killed off. They also need to work out whether they have to do this on their own or if they can team up with someone because somebody else might be the murderer. This is my favourite Agatha Christie book and probably one of my favourite mystery novels because it's so gripping. It's very creepy. This is one that feels like a little bit unsettling to read, but it's also really fun. Again, we have lots of different characters from different walks of life, a very good mystery. I did not guess the ending of this at all. If you have not read anything by Agatha Christie, this is the book that I would always say that you should start with. And then the final book that I want to recommend, and this is probably the creepiest murder mystery, although I think it's arguable that And Then There Were None might be the creepiest, tied with this one. And this was a very recent read, and that is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I read this one only a couple of months ago, and it was kind of what sparked my inspiration to make this video, because I was thinking about how this is probably the creepiest murder mystery that I've read, and I definitely lean more to the cozy murder mystery. However, when I look at this stack, the ones that I would say are my favourites and that I remember the most are the ones on the creepy end. So even though I gravitate more to the cozy books, the books that actually have a lasting impact on me are the ones that are a little bit more creepy. I don't know what that says about my reading tastes, but all of this to say, I absolutely loved The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. In this book, we follow a man who wakes up in this forest and he has no memory of how he got there. He doesn't even remember his own name. All he has in his head is the name Anna. As the story progresses, he ends up in this house with all these rich people, and we find out that Evelyn, who is the kind of daughter in this family, is murdered. The next day, our main character wakes up, and this time he remembers everything that happened the previous day. However, on this day, he is in the body of a different person. We learn that our main character has 7 bodies and 7 murders to work out who has murdered Evelyn Hardcastle. I loved the mystery element to this book because you have the murder mystery, but then there's also the mystery of what is going on with the different bodies. Why does he only have 7 attempts to solve the murder? What's going to happen at the end? Why can he not remember his past? There's just so many layers of mystery to this book that I found it so gripping. It's a 500-page book, but I ended up reading it in, I think, less than a week. And I'm not reading that fast at the moment, so that was very fast for me because it's so gripping. It's one of those books that I couldn't put down. So definitely recommend this one. I know that Stuart Turton also has a couple of other books out, which I'm really interested in getting to at some point because I really enjoyed this one. And those are all of the books that I want to recommend in this video. I hope that you found this video helpful and have maybe found a book that you want to pick up. Let me know in the comments what are some of your favourite murder mysteries, and are you somebody who goes more for the cozy kind of mystery novel or the creepy end of a murder mystery novel? I'm really intrigued where people land on that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon with another video.